Hi guys, how are you? This is Miss Lena. So today we're going to continue our Great Wave of Kanagawa by Hokusai. So let's just take a look at how the original painting or actually print wood block print is. It is the Great Wave. So we have worked on doing that ginormous wave that is right here, and we did the smaller wave, and then there should be a wave over here. I think some of you guys might have missed it. I actually think I made Mount Fuji bigger than it should have. It should have actually been smaller now that I'm looking at this. And then we have all those little details. We should have three boats, one over here, and then also finally one over here. As you can see, there are three boats on that work of art. The other thing is that if we looked closely, which we did the last time, we noticed that there was very light blue on the lines that are on the waves. So we did that. We're actually going to reinforce that. And then if we look at the other section, it is a nice darker blue. So ideally, we would be able to watercolor paint this, but we're not, and that's okay. So what we're going to do today is that we are going to color the wave. And what we would need is a lighter blue and then a really dark blue. So not this blue, right? Actually, I'm going to use this blue for the in-between instead of this one, and a darker blue. I'm using crayons. Crayons are kind of easier to really color as opposed to color pencil, but you can also use a color pencil. As far as, let's just recap the sky. The sky is a very light gray, closer to Mount Fuji, and then it becomes like a peachy color. That I insist on you doing with color pencil, because if you do it with a crayon, it might be a bit too dark. We want the colors to look subtle there. So we're just going to go ahead and work on those waves. Okay, so we are coloring over here, pretty dark. Make it a little thicker by the lines with our nicer lighter blue. And we want to just create that contrast that we need, but not so much that it looks like stripes. Again, some of these lines are slightly curved. Over here, they look a little bit waved. Now, my drawing got a little messed up with a water bottle, so there's a little blur there, but that's okay. I'm not gonna make that big of a deal of it. I'm gonna also go ahead and refer to my work of art, and I'm going to include a tiny bit of blue here, not too much. Just a tiny bit, kind of around my waves, just a little bit, because foam or white, even when we look at the skies, it's not entirely the fullest of white. So we kind of want to have a little bit of a sense of shadowing, if you would want to call it that, or depth in our work. So I'm going to just go ahead and just put little random lines of blue over there. The wave. Now, before I even get confused, because I don't want to get confused, I am going to go ahead and color my boats, because in the midst of coloring all of that, I just might make a mistake, and I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and color my boats. Let me just go grab some color pencils so I can easily do that. Okay guys, so we're back. All right, so I grabbed my color pencils. It's always good to reuse. So this is a can, and I have all my color pencils there. And what I grabbed is sort of like a brown that looks like a caramel brown, a little bit darker than a caramel brown. And this is not your regular yellow. This is a mustard yellow. This would be a regular yellow. This is a mustard yellow. So if you don't have that, that's totally fine. It just means that you might have to add a touch more of brown in order to create the needed effect. So when we look at Kanagawai's, Hokusai's wave, the boat, in the inside part, it's a little bit more reddish brown. And then on the other side, it is clearly a beige. So what I'm going to do, and again, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that when we are coloring our blue waves, we're not going to confuse it and just go ahead and color all the rest. So the inside part, I'm going to make it that nice, richer brown. It actually ends up looking a little bit like chocolate milk, or a piece of chocolate actually. So I'm going and doing that. I'm coloring the inside part. Again, when we drew that, we made sure that we drew those three lines over there. And I'm actually going to go a little darker with that part. but I do want this to look beige. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mustard yellow and color that in. So that clearly looks yellow. That's not necessarily what I want to achieve. Now, what I have a habit of doing is that I color every part of a drawing. So for instance, the inside part, I color all at the same time. And the outside part, I color all of those at the same time, as opposed to coloring it one by one. That to me just creates a sense of efficiency, and also kind of setting my mindset to that. Now I'm gonna grab that lighter brown, and I'm going to ever so lightly go super light. And I'm gonna go more on the edges, not in the middle, because I wanna create, and it's gonna look a little bit like line. I kind of wanna create the effect of shadowing of a color. So again, we're not having the exact same color. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Only at the ends, I'm gonna be making like sort of these little lines, not too much. So if you were to take a closer look, and I'll try to see if I could post a picture of a closer look, you're gonna notice that those right there, it just creates a nice illusion of space and 3D-ness. So it's not just like one big color. And again, it's still complementing there. So that's right there. I'm gonna go ahead again with my mustard yellow, give it a retouch. And now they look quite pretty. I mean, it looks almost like the shading of a sunset, kind of. Going again with my brown just to make sure that it's even out. But again, the middle is not colored brown at all. So if we look at this just looks so fantastic. You guys see that? Now I can go ahead and color with my darker blue. So I want to make sure that when I'm coloring, I am not coloring those bubbles that I worked so hard. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to outline the bubbles that I drew with my crayon. Or if you want to do it with a color pencil, you can easily do it with a color pencil. And like I said, what that does is just prevents me from coloring the inside of those water bubbles, because I don't want to do that. Remember, we did the same technique over here with the ones that were in the sky, because there are splashes of water going around them. You have to take your time with that. It's not something that you can rush, because we don't want to rush and then mess up. So I'm going to just go ahead and do the inside part, this part right over here. And so I'm coloring in. We have worked again really hard with making those finger monster-like waves. So again, we are not going to color them. They are going to stay white. We might end up putting a tiny touch of blue in them. That ended up creating the effect when I accidentally smeared it a little bit, but don't go ahead and do that. Again, I'm going around. I kind of want you to look at this very closely. If you can see, the bubbles are still white. That is what you want. You want the bubbles to still be white. Now, when you are coloring the blue that is next to that line that you made, it looks very distinct if you look closely. However, just like when we used in this section that we went and we used a mustard yellow and then slight touches of brown, that is pretty much the same thing. That creates a sense of layering of colors, and also just creates a little bit more depth. It's not such a flat surface when you're mixing or combining colors. So that's the great thing about that. I'm going to continue coloring this in. For today, what you are expected to do is just color your boats and begin to color your wave. I know some of you guys are just very anxious to go ahead, rush, and finish the project, but there is no need to finish the project today. However, if you do, that's okay. I just want to make sure that when you are coloring, I'm going to retouch this part right here. When you are coloring, you are making sure to take your time, because when I am given the project, I'm going to look and see if you made sure to not color those bubbles. I'm going to make sure that you do have, in fact, those bubbles. That is like a requirement in the project. And again, I'm just coloring around it. We're almost wrapping up. I'm just going to finish coloring this. I'm going to just quickly talk to you. So all you have to do is basically get up to here. If you finish coloring just this section right here, I will be a very happy person. You don't have to finish. And I don't want to rush it, because I honestly don't want to mess up mine. But I want to just talk to you for the last few seconds of this video. And I just want to say it's very important to take your time. The other thing is that you can create colors by mixing it up. So if you didn't have this mustard yellow, that just means that it needs a touch more of brown. It's wonderful to get color pencils that have a variety of color, like 24 colors at least, because then you're able to work and create more colors. And you could add different layers, not just for this project. This project is pretty simple in the colors. Once again, I made my Mount Fuji, I think, a little too big, but that's okay. Looking back at it. And later on, we're going to just add a little bit more, kind of create a little bit more sort of a shadowing of the waves. But I want to take a closer look at the actual painting to make sure that we're doing it justice. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Again, don't rush your work. Take your time and have an awesome day. Bye.